Hello to everyone watching this. My name is Kareem Eshkur. I'm the managing partner and chief economist of Barbarian Law. Welcome to day one of lockdowns in Ontario and the first of what I hope to be many videos covering a number of topics ranging from cryptocurrency to the business of sports and history and law. I'm making this channel in hopes of challenging the way we see the world, confronting our prior assumptions, and to generally disturb the status quo. Before we start, I have to say that none of what I say should be considered legal, financial, or life advice of any sort. These videos are not intended to create legal relations. I'm simply providing information that I think is valuable and needs to be said. I'd like to start off by going through the etymology of the word barbarian and discuss how a Eurocentric historical bias affects our perception and reality. Webster's dictionary defines barbarian as a person from an alien land, culture, or group believed to be inferior, uncivilized, or violent, and is a term chiefly used in historical references. The example they use is of the Roman Empire patrolling the provinces, repelling the barbarians. The term originates from the Greek barbaros. The concept of barbaros did not figure in literature before the 5th century BC, which was during the Greco-Persian Wars. According to Greek writers, this was because the language they spoke sounded to the Greeks like gibberish, represented by the sounds bar, bar. In 5th century BC, the Persians invaded Greece, with troops led by Xerxes, son of Darius, son of Cyrus the Great. Cyrus is credited with creating the world's first charter of human rights. After conquering Babylon, he freed the slaves, declaring that people had the right to choose their own religion and established racial equality. This was likely due to his upbringing as a Zoroastrian, which greatly contributed to his ability to create one of the world's largest empires. He was able to achieve buy-in from his disciples by accepting their gods in conjunction with his own, rather than forcibly trying to convert the newly conquered lands. Cyrus is credited by Jewish sources and in the Bible. Do you hear that, Drake fans? It's in the Bible. With rebuilding Jerusalem, sending ships and vast sums of money to buy building materials so that the Jews could return to this land. Xerxes, on the other hand, was much more concerned with expanding the Persian Empire, which at that time spanned as far east as India, southward towards Egypt, and at the height of the empire, he decided to march against Athens and Sparta. The Persian attack had the effect of uniting Greek tribes against a common enemy, whereas they were previously plagued by infighting amongst different Greek and Spartan tribes. The movie 300 is about this war and the Battle of Thermopylae. The number of Spartan warriors was closer to 7,000 rather than 300 as shown in the historically inaccurate and offensive movie. And although Greek historians of the time thought that the Persian army was to be numbered around 3 million soldiers, scholars say the real figure was between 100 and 150,000 soldiers. If you are interested in a more historical representation of this war, there's a book called Persian Fire by Tom Holland, in which he accurately depicts this great battle between East and West. The Persians did not keep a written history of their accounts of the battle, or if they did, it was destroyed, so the book relies on Greek sources to describe the events. I could go further in depth on this subject. However, the main reason I bring this up is to reference Plato's comments on the term barbarian. Plato rejected the Greek-barbarian dichotomy as a logical absurdity, on grounds that dividing the world into Greeks and non-Greeks told one nothing about the second group. For Plato, antagonism between political entities is a natural fact, but there are no natural foundations for historical distinctions between races and culture. Slavery is a social necessity, not something built on the human constitution. In contrast to Plato, his disciple Aristotle believed that barbarians are the best candidates for slavery because of their natural lack of reason. Islam started in approximately the year 610 AD. This is around when the followers of the Prophet, peace be upon him, began exporting his teachings around the Arabian Peninsula and ultimately towards Persia. The Muslim conquest of Persia lasted from 633 to 654 AD. Islam slowly replaced Zoroastrian as the dominant religion of the region. There were numerous cases of Zoroastrian scriptures being burnt and priests being executed, though eventually Islam began to gain acceptance among most Iranians. In 1090 AD, a Shia Ismaili sect of Muslims, of which I identify as, took possession of Alamut Castle, a fortress on top of a mountain that functioned as the headquarters of the Nizari Ismaili state. Alamut was thought impregnable to any military attack and was fabled for its heavenly gardens, library, and laboratories, where philosophers, scientists, and theologians could debate in intellectual freedom. It was from there that the political, religious, and military tactics were deployed. One of such methods was the use of Hashshashins. Ismailis were attributed as being the first professional murderers or assassins, or hitman if you enjoyed the video games as much as I do. The first usage of the term Hashsashin was used in 1122 AD as a derogatory term to describe Ismailis, indirectly accusing them of using hashish. Although at the time all Ismailis were labeled as Hashshashins, this was a task reserved for a specific group called Fidai. It wasn't until 1603 that the word assassin made its way into the Western canon, mainly based on the narrative of Marco Polo from his visits to the Near East. The tales of training for Fidai are recounted by Marco Polo. The tales of the Fidai training collected from anti-Ismaili historians and writers were compiled in Marco Polo's account, Old Man in the Mountain, in which he described a paradise-like garden filled with attractive young maidens and beautiful plants in which these Fidai would awaken. Here they were told by an old man on the mountain that they were witnessing their place in paradise, and that should they wish to return to this garden permanently, they must serve the Ismaili cause. Alamut lasted as the base for Ismailis until the Mongols attacked in 1253. Assassins, like barbarians, are a type of warrior. Lawyers are also meant to be a type of warrior. Too often, lawyers sit back and let the action unfold instead of them pushing the agenda. It is the duty of lawyers to be on the cutting edge of the boundaries of law. Barbarian law, as it is known today, will be about racial, social, and economic equality. I want to repatriate the word barbarian and take back its meaning. I'm proud to be a barbarian, and I want you to join the movement too. Please like and subscribe. Leave a comment on what you'd like my next video to be about. Follow me on Instagram. Check out my website. The link is in the bio. And I promise that next time the video will be about something legal or financial related. Okay? So until next time, peace and love.